something that is causing me to definitely grow. It definitely give me content, okay, to make these videos. And I remember I didn't know necessarily, like, I used to feel like I just needed a lot of people on my side, right? And in this video is about divine justice. I was watching a young lady on Instagram, and I'm barely ever on Instagram, but I was going through her videos on Instagram, and I came across this video, and I didn't even know, what the video was about. I just clicked on it. You talk about synchronicities, okay? And in the video, it talked about divine justice, right? See, oftentimes when we want to, or when you don't want to forgive someone, right? Because you feel like, you want vengeance, you feel like, you want the person to admit that they did wrong, you want an apology, then it's like you forgiving that person based upon their terms, right? But one of the things that I love is forgiveness is really a choice, and it is selfish, okay? See, sometimes when people do stuff, okay, and I don't want to say do stuff to us, they do stuff for us, okay? Like this whole situation I'm growing through, right? It gives me content. And then also it allows me to see things for what they are, not for what I wish or hope or luck them to be. I remember when I was a kid, my grandmother, she will always have this saying, and one of the things she would say was, the seeds that you plant, you reap the benefit, right? Whatever type of seeds you plant, whatever it is, whether it's gossip, whether it is fraud, whether it is um hatred, whatever it is that you plant, you will reap the benefit. I remember some years ago, right, when I got married, and me and a person, we was married for a short amount of time. We had did an annulment because the marriage, it was so short, it was brief. And I remember for a long period of time, one second, family, let me close this window. I remember for a long period of time, I felt, because the guy wanted to get a divorce, and me and him was married. So I'm gonna give you guys the gist of it. So I had got married to this guy, right? We started dating, and the relationship, it started moving really, really rapidly. And I was the type, looking for love and wanted somebody to give me love, okay? And I remember, um, we was dating for a few months, probably about, I want to say like 9 months, and then at first I didn't know that he didn't have his citizenship. Like I didn't know that. Like I knew he was from DR. Okay, well, Venezuelan, DR and Venezuelan. I knew he was, like, I think from Venezuelan. Okay, um, and I knew he was born there in Venezuelan, and I remember like how I found out that he didn't have his citizenship or his green card. After me and him got involved, I remember And he was so brilliant, so smart, just like so beautiful. And I remember he was working at a bodega. And oftentimes we create all these different scenarios in our mind, right? Like, I created a scenario that, when I first seen him, oh, he work at the bodega, his family, they own it, right? Just creating all types of scenarios or creating all types of, um, you know, different outcomes, thinking like, oh, well, he worked there. I know his family owned it, whatever. So after me and him been dating, um, one of the things I noticed was he didn't have his license. And because I had a friend that was from Africa, from Ghana, who didn't have their license, I kind of put two and two together. Okay. And so I remember I asked the guy who I was dating at that time, like, why don't you have your license? Right. And one of the things he said was he was going to talk to me about it later. But I already knew, like, why he didn't have his license. It was because he didn't have his papers. And so later on that night, me and him started talking, and he came out and told me, he didn't have his papers. And I was in a place where, as though, you wanna be the hero, right? You want to try to rescue the person. And I remember he would talk to me about the job, the bodega he was working at, and how he hated it and all this other stuff. And he would work so many hours. And I remember I was like, you know what? I want to help you, right? Like I wanna help you. And so we kept on dating. He was like really, really good with my my oldest children, at that time. My oldest children probably was my oldest son, he's 20 now. So at that time, he was about probably, I want to say, probably around two. No, probably around three or something like that. And so me and a guy had got married. Okay. And see, when you're looking for love outside yourself, you are going to disregard everything. Okay. Because, hey, Tayden, I think that's your name. Peace to you, baby. When you're looking for love outside yourself, you're going to start disregarding everything because your whole objective is, I want love, right? And the only person that could give me love is the person outside my existence, which there is a false belief. And so we got married, and things that I dealt with in my previous relationship that I was roughly out of, probably for a few months, I hopped right back in another relationship. And that's why I say, like, if you in a relationship and you and this person break up, make sure you take a pause. Now, you don't necessarily have to take a pause. You do what works for you. But what I understand to be true is, if you did not heal or deal with the issues that came up in that prior relationship, chances of you bringing your baggage to the next relationship is very high. Okay, it's very, very high. And so I brought my baggage from my previous relationship into this relationship. Okay, like I didn't trust him. And I wouldn't say necessarily I didn't trust him. I didn't trust myself to see like the red flags or whatever. And this was, to me, a complete different relationship. Okay. And when I say different, the guy who I was dating, who I later married, he was the type that went to work. Okay. And my previous relationship that I was in, this guy, he sold drugs. So I was thinking, like, you know what? This is a really good relationship, okay, with the new guy. And one of the things that I didn't know at that time that I know now, that like attracts like, and you attract what you are in harmony with. So if you have a poor self-image of yourself, you are going to attract someone that have a poor self-image about themselves. Okay. And so going through this, whole thing, whatever, um, me and the guy, we didn't work out, right? It was so many arguments. I would try to self sabotage it. And at that time, I didn't know I was doing this, right? Because I was so unaware. But I would try to self sabotage it because I felt like, like when you have this complex or this mechanism, um, like this wall up, and you always feel like somebody is out to get you. Okay. And so sure enough, you meet people that will be out to get you because that's the energy that you putting out, and that's what you vibing on. Okay. And so I just felt like, it was gonna be a matter of time before he was to leave. And subconsciously, what we tend to do is we tend to sabotage the relationship, because if you experience, you know, anything far as like, somebody leaving your life, when you start dating, if you don't heal that wound, you will start feeling like your relationships, this person is just a matter of time before they leave you. And since we are creators and we want to be right, okay, we do things where as though the person is definitely going to leave, because it's like, well, subconsciously you saying to subconsciously you putting out, it's just a matter of time for this person leave. So let me do X, Y, and Z so they could leave already. Because I know they gonna leave me. Right. And the prophecy, it becomes fulfilled because you already have that keep on going into your subconscious mind. But you have to understand and think, whatever it is that you focus on and pay attention to, that's what tends to grow. Okay. And so we get to divorce, and I just felt betrayed. I felt betrayed. Um, and I remember I would be crying. And one day I called my grandmother, who was so wise. And I was on the phone and I was crying. And my grandmother goes to me, she says, "Why are you crying?" And I'm like, because he wanted divorce, right? I was just devastated. And I did not know what to do. Okay. At a point, I didn't want to live any longer. I would send him text messages like, I don't want to live, and, all these different things, hoping that I could change his perception, his point of view. For the ladies out there, okay, if you are out there, sending text messages, if a person wants to leave you, right, let them go, okay, because by you sending text messages and declaring like, I love you so much, and you meant the world to me, don't leave me, they will want to leave even more, even quicker, because what you demonstrating is that they are more valuable than you. Okay. You done put them on a pedestal. Okay. And so when I called my grandmother pretty much was saying, why are you crying? I bet you he not over there crying and all this different stuff. Right. And so the divorce, it was finna take place. Well, probably before the divorce was about to take place, and before he served me those papers. Okay. um, I remember it was a point in time where as though he broke up. Me and him, he broke up with me, and he went to go live back with his mama. Okay. And I would call him to see like when he was coming back and things of that nature. And I remember this one day he did come back. And he stayed the night, and pretty much I was thinking like, oh, me and him, we back together, right? But then the next day, I guess he didn't tell his mother, like what was going, like he told me he was coming back, but I guess he didn't tell his mother that he was coming back to me, because his mother would have probably most likely said, you stupid, you all of this and that, right? And so I remember the next day I was excited. I was cooking. I remember to this day exactly what I was cooking. I was making stewed pork chops. Okay, I don't eat that now, but I was making stewed pork chops and rice, and I was excited because I'm like, he's coming back. We gonna be together, and things of that nature. So when he got off work, me and him talked. And one of the things he said to me, he said, do you think you can help me? Right? Like basically, like far as his papers. Um, and he was like, you can't help me. He was like, look at the way you talk to me. Like, look at the way you speak to me. Um, which I would speak to him, I would belittle him. Okay. Because I felt like when you are hurting, okay, hurt people, we have heard this saying so many times, hurt people tend to hurt people, okay? And he was like, you know what, like he was leaving. And I was, so furious. And so he left. And he moved down south, okay? And when I just gave up on the relationship. I just surrendered. I was like, you know what? This is pretty much what he want. I was on the phone with one of my aunts, and my aunt was like, if a person want to leave, just let them leave, okay? And she also said, she's not like a big fan of divorce, but in this case, if this person want to divorce you, let them go, right? Because at one point I was like, I'm not signing those divorce papers. I'm not giving him the divorce. Okay. Very, very entitled. Okay. Trying to make somebody stay where they don't want to stay. I just had an aha moment. And so he moves down south, and me and him, we don't talk. Okay. And then he started calling me, saying like how he missed me, how he missed the kids, my kids, and all these different things. And he decided to come back. Well, we decide. I have allowed him to come back again. And so he comes back, and I'm like on my best behavior, right? Walking on eggshells, like, I gotta make sure this is good. I gotta make sure, because I don't want him to leave me, because after all, this is the reason why I was created for this relationship, okay? For this marriage. So he comes back. I'm so excited, okay? I'm cooking. I made this big meal, doing the most, okay? And he's there, but I could feel that a part of him didn't want to be there. And I guess maybe he came back because of guilt. I don't really know why. But I guess he probably came back because of guilt, because of me saying, you just wanted to marry me for the papers, although I had suggested, like, you know what, I'll help you, okay? And so about 2 days go past, and I remember he asked me would I move down south, and I was like, no. I was like, I would not give my section 8 up for you. If you left me up here, you will do that down there, okay? You always gotta pay attention to the trails that the person is leaving. You always got to pay attention to all the red flags, okay? It's going to save you some heartache. It's going to save you some tears. is going to save you lessons, okay? Once you get the lesson, you don't repeat the course. And so, hey Maya, peace here, baby, peace here, peace here. Oh, I'm good. Okay. Um, and so what wound up happening was um he still was, still now at this time he didn't discuss divorce. He left and then he had discussed divorce. And I was devastated, okay? And at that time, right, I remember I would just be crying. And then, when you going through something, honey, you turn to religion. Okay, at that time, I was turning to religion. I was watching Clefo Dollar at that time. Okay, I was crying. No, I was watching Clefo Dollar at that time, and I remember watching Clefo Dollar, and Clefo Dollar was saying, he was talking about relationships. And I had a good friend of mine. And me and that good friend, I was talking to her, about him serving me papers and stuff like that. So fast forward, he served me the papers and we got a annulment, okay? And I remember I wanted him to pay for what he did, right? I wanted him to feel my pain. And I remember 2 years done went past, okay? And I remember I was working at this hardware store. And whenever something came up pertaining to relationships and, pretty much you reap what you sow, I would instantly think about him. And I would think that, why was it that he didn't pay for what he did to me? Okay, honey, full victim mode. Okay, victim mode. Okay. And I was thinking, like, why didn't he pay for what he did to me? Right? How he broke my heart, how he left, how he came back and into my life for the third time. And but all of those was choices. I had allowed him to come back. Okay? Because I wanted to see things from what I wanted them to be, not necessarily what they were. Okay. And so when he came back, I mean, when he served me the papers and stuff like that, um, I remember, I love you too. I remember that he served the papers, whatever. And I remember I would call my grandmother and I would say, I would be upset. And one of the things my grandmother would say was, you will reap what you sow. Like when people do all these things, they don't get away with it, right? And oftentimes we tend to think, ooh. Oftentimes we tend to think that when people do stuff to us, we think like, oh, well, this person is getting away with it. Okay, they ain't got to pay for whatever it is that they did. Oh, is a such thing called divine timing. And they necessarily don't get it back when you want them to get it back. But one of the things that you can do is you could forgive them, okay? And when you forgive them, it is never for them. It is always for you. Forgiveness is a selfless act, okay? And you just got to understand that things happen the way they supposed to happen. And also, let me tell you this, okay? Sometimes you operate from fear, right? Like, I remember this time I was on the phone with this person, and this person was saying that this other person wasn't going to have any good luck because this other person was kicking her boyfriend out. And the reason why the person was kicking her boyfriend out was because what the boyfriend was doing, texting other women, cheating, whatever, right? And I said to this person, how is it that this person that's kicking a boyfriend out isn't gonna have no good luck? And the person said, because you can't do people all types of ways. And I said, but by the boyfriend doing her all types of ways, that don't count for nothing. Like that's okay. So that means for her to endure what this boyfriend is doing, because this boyfriend has said he don't have nowhere to go. But didn't a boyfriend know he ain't have nowhere to go when he was texting the other women? Like, you know, and so if you don't have common sense, you will fall for stuff like this. You will fall for things like, oh, I asked this person to leave my house because they can't abide by my rules or whatever. They not paying nothing, okay? And I asked them to leave. And somebody will come along and say, okay, somebody who don't have the damn common sense will come along and say, well, why would you ask that person to leave? That person ain't got nowhere to go. Might you ask? Well, did the person know they didn't have anywhere to go when they couldn't listen to the rules? Like, did they not know that? Okay. So my whole point to you is this, okay? One, forgive. 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 Okay, because if somebody knew, okay, exactly what they were doing, okay. See, some people ain't rocking with a full deck, okay. If they knew exactly what they was doing, they wouldn't do some of the things that they tend to do, okay. And so you have to forgive the situation, because the way I see it is, after all, it makes you a bigger person. Okay. And when I say a bigger person, you learn a lesson. And if you learn that lesson, you will not have to repeat the course. Okay. You don't have to repeat the course. And that's one of the things that I love about life. See, life is my teacher. And when life is showing me something, it is for me to look at it and say, what lesson could I learn from this? Nothing is too big that it could break you. Okay? I have said in a video the other day that you may be damaged, but you're not broken. You're not broken. And just for sure that, people do certain things, you move on with your life. But the most phenomenal thing that I love about life is also that you don't have to deal with people. So you have to know your power. If you know what you bring, okay, integrity, honesty, whatever, a good friend, whatever it is, and a person do stuff, they show you exactly who they are, then you have a choice. You have a choice to keep on entertaining that, or you have a choice to not entertain it at all and move accordingly. But the choice is yours. And so, to the person that's out there who is having a hard time with forgiving, right? Like me with this person, right? With my son, I had, I was so angry, and I wanted him to pay for what he's doing, right? And one of the things that I started understanding was that no matter what it is that you going through, you're gonna grow through it. But on a bigger note, I don't have to deal with him. Now, some people will say, well, there's something, right? Well, it's just, we have to be something, okay? Because that's exactly what I'm doing, okay? I don't have to deal with him no longer, okay? Which is good because people can't do stuff to you unless you permit it, unless you allow it. And if you allow it, then it's going to keep on occurring. But it feels so good. And one of the things my grandmother used to say was, if I know I did the best and I know that I did all that I can do, I don't worry about it. I don't worry about it. And so take this with you. You don't forgive the person. You don't do it for them. You do it for yourself. And also, is a such thing as divine timing. Okay. And also understand that the universe is conspiring and working in your favor. Oh, how it's working in your favor. Okay. So keep on growing. Keep on going. Believe in yourself. And know that everything is possible. Okay? Know that this is your life. You're a creator of your reality. And whatever it is that you don't like, you can always change it by not entertaining it. And with that being said, I love you guys.